Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Liquor Control Commission for March 5th, 2018. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Simpson, roll call.
Commissioner Kruger?
Present.
Commissioner Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Brady?
Here.
Commissioner Lang?
Here.
Commissioner Papantos?
Present.
Commissioner Vito?
Here.
Chairperson Horker?
Here. You have before you the minutes of the special meeting from February 5th, 2018. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second.
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second, Trustee Lang. Roll call.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes. Citizens' concerns and comments? Clerk
There are
Simpson?
none.
Excellent. New business. Item A.
Consideration of a request for a Class BV liquor license from A&A Enterprises, LLC, DBA Eagle Gourmet Café.
Mr. Spondilis.
Thank you. As the title indicates, this is a request for a Class BV license to be located at the subject address for a restaurant operating under the name Eagle Café. We are happy to answer any questions. The petitioner is here. I would ask that if the board makes this consideration, that they do so with the motion to approve conditioned on, 1, the passage of legislation by the Board of Trustees granting special use approval and a parking variation as applicable, 2, passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class BV liquor license, 3, submittal of a certificate of insurance indicating liquor liability insurance for the establishment that names the Village of Wheeling as an additional insured party, 4, submittal of proof of Bassett certification for applicable employees, and 5, a satisfactory background check process. Happy to answer any questions, and again, the petitioner is in the audience.
Questions from the board? Left, right. That was quick and easy. I would then be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion, Trustee Kruger, second, Trustee Lang. Roll call. What?
Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Leroy. With conditions.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes.
If I may, I'd like to read the Class BV license into record.
Please.
Class BV licenses shall authorize the retail sale of alcoholic liquor in sit-down restaurants for consumption on the premises, subject to the following conditions and qualifications. A Class BV licensed premises must provide a minimum table seating capacity for meal service for 30 persons, exclusive of all bar stools, and must serve lunch or dinner at least 5 days of each calendar week in which the establishment is open. Must have a video gaming license issued by the Illinois Gaming Board in accordance with the provisions of the Video Gaming Act. Shall comply with all provisions of the Illinois Video Gaming Act and all rules, regulations, and restrictions imposed by the Illinois Gaming Board. And the operation of video gaming terminals shall not be permitted during the hours alcoholic liquor sales are prohibited as provided in Section 4.32.2. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Spondilis. That is all the business. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion, Trustee Kruger, second, Trustee Papantos.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Motion, Commissioner Kruger, second, Commissioner Papantos. Got the names right, though. All in favor?
Well done. Aye.
Aye.
6:34.
We now need to call to order the regular meeting of the Village Board for Monday, March 5th, 2018. You all set? Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
President Harker.
Here. Need a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of February 5th as presented.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee
Vogel?
Vogel.
Second.
Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Abstain.
Trustee Brady abstain. Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Harker.
Yes, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, where are we?
Proclamations, congratulatory.
Okay.
Athletic training.
Okay, social workers, leaders, advocates, champions. The social work profession is dedicated to enhancing the well-being of others and meeting the basic needs of all people, especially the most vulnerable in our society. Social workers embody this year's Social Work Month theme, social workers, leaders, advocates, and champions. The social work profession is expected to grow faster than average over the next 7 years, with more than 649,000 people expected to be employed as social workers by 2024. Social workers are present throughout our society, including the government, schools, universities, social service agencies, communities, the military, and in healthcare and mental health organizations. Social workers are the largest group of suppliers of mental health services in the United States. Social workers are present in times of crisis, helping people overcome issues such as death and grief, and helping people in communities recover from natural disasters such as floods and hurricanes. Social workers have pushed for decades to ensure equal rights for all, including women, African Americans, Latinos, people who are disabled, people who are LGBTQ, and various ethnic, cultural, and religious groups. The social work profession has helped bring about some of the most profound positive changes in our society over the past century, including voting rights, improved workplace safety, minimum wage, and social safety net programs that help prevent poverty and hunger. Social workers continue to engage and bring together individuals, communities, agencies, and government to help society solve some of the most pressing issues of the day, including immigration reform, equal rights for all, affordable and good health care, and mental health care for all, and protecting the environment. In recognition of the numerous contributions made by America's social workers, Patrick Horker, President of the Village of Wheeling, proclaimed the month of March 2018 as National Social Work Month and call upon all citizens to join with the National Association of Social Workers in the Village of Wheeling in celebration and support of the social work profession.
Ms. Weiser.
Right here, it's just fine.
Just want to get done and get out of here?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Pretty
you.
bad outside.
National Athletic Training Month, March 2018. Athletic trainers have a long history of providing quality health care for athletes and those engaged in physical activity based on specific tasks, knowledge, and skills acquired through their nationally regulated educational processes. Athletic trainers provide prevention of injuries, recognition, evaluation, and aggressive treatment, rehabilitation, healthcare administration, education, and guidance. The National Athletic Trainers Association represents and supports 44,000 members of the athletic training profession employed in the following settings: professional sports, college and universities, high schools, clinics and hospitals, corporate and industrial settings, performing arts, military branches. Leading organizations concerned with athletic training and healthcare have joined together in a common desire to raise public awareness of the importance of the athletic training profession and to emphasize the importance of quality healthcare within the aforementioned settings. Such an effort will improve healthcare for athletes and those engaged in physical activity and promote athletic training as healthcare professionals. Patrick Horker, President of the Village of Wheeling, do hereby proclaim the month of March as National Athletic Training Month in the Village of Wheeling, and urges all citizens of Wheeling to learn more about the importance of athletic training.
Is Dave Jerby here?
Yes, right there.
Appointments, confirmations. Tonight we have the removal of the Board of Health member Trinity Bednars. At this time, I would like to inform you, the board, that pursuant to Illinois Municipal Code and the Wheeling Code, I have removed Ms. Middleton from the Wheeling Board of Health effective February 28, 2018. The reasons for the removal include Ms. Middleton's behavior as articulated to me by the chairperson of the Board of Health. Ms. Middleton's conduct on the Board of Health meetings has been generally disruptive and at times violative of the rules that govern the Board of Health. Her conduct, according to the chairperson, has become an obstacle to the board's moving forward with its mission. Ms. Middleton remains focused on the sole issue of the use of glyphosate in the village of Wheeling and fails to engage in other agenda items. The village needs its commissioners to focus on the full business of the board that they serve and not single issues. It is my opinion that in the interest of the village, demand removal. It is my opinion that the interests of the village demand removal. I do not take this matter lightly, as we, as a village board, value our volunteers and the time and commitment that they provide on behalf of the village residents. Does anyone have any objections?
You can do it, citizens' concerns.
Citizens' concerns. Thank you.
I have a comment, if I may.
Mr. Lang, Trustee Lang.
Is there, other than the oath of office that commissioners take, are there any kind of, like a code of conduct or code that we have written for any of our commissioners?
Well, each board has, in the village code, its mission set forth as far as their duties, but there is no code of conduct per se, but the code generally outlines what their duties are and how they should be performed in terms of attending meetings, et cetera. But there is no specific code of conduct.
Okay. And I'm just asking the question out loud. Is there something that maybe across the board should be more of a cut and dry code of conduct and rules and regulations, if you would, for these folks who are representing the Village of Wheeling, the village board, the residents, and so on?
There is a model of excellence, much like the one that you signed, that we do pass along to our commissioners. But staff has discussed maybe a more specific commission by commission educational process that outlines that a little bit more. But as the attorney said, it's written in the code. And the model of excellence, I think, carries that through to set the appropriate expectations.
Fair enough. No other questions.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. There are no other comments. Citizens' concerns and comments. Clerk Simpson.
Okay, members of the public may address the committee, may address the board with comments regarding only those items that are relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Ms. Wilson?
I had something prepared to read from my laptop based on your decision tonight for the Board of Health Commissioner. So I'm going to do the best I can from rote memory. Her name again, forgive me, that you just removed from the Health Commission?
Trinity?
Trinity, yes. And her last name, forgive me?
Middle?
It's hyphenated. Bednars Middleton is her last name. It's a hyphenated last name.
We have people in our community from a lot of different cultures that express themselves in different ways. I don't know if this board has considered the difference between zealous advocacy for people in the community and maybe some cultural differences or just plain zeal. I've seen a very high tolerance on this board up here from white men who are very loud, and I haven't seen them removed from the board. I've seen a high tolerance on this board from a white woman who bared teeth in defense of a village employee that I felt had a conflict of interest. And because of this pervasive pattern, I get concerned when you remove somebody. Is it because you have a look like that? I can show you pictures. I've got screenshots of you baring teeth in defense of my concern, a very legitimate concern over Mr. Malanaphy having a conflict of interest when his private business client came before the board to petition us for TIF money. Or forgive me, not for TIF, but for something else, some other building project they had going on. I have legitimate concerns, and you continuously dismiss it. It's a legitimate concern. Now, you're making that decision. Have you been there? Are these meetings with the Health Commission, are they audio taped? Has the entire board listened to this before you make this decision? If she were a white attorney, she'd probably be considered zealous, which is a virtue. I have a very high tolerance for Maluzzi because she's zealous. She's an attorney. That's what she's supposed to be. I've never criticized her for being zealous. I've only criticized her for dishonesty. I know where to draw the line, and I don't think this board does. I don't know why you think this is so funny, Papantos. You disappoint me. We have a diverse community, 44% Latino. It's a passionate culture. They express themselves passionately. Other Eastern European people in our community, they're just passionate when they speak. It's because they care. It's not because they're rule breakers. You tolerate your white attorney pointing his finger at me, and moments later he's telling the speaker, don't point your finger, that's threatening. But he's white, and he's an attorney. And he's got some letters after his name. It's just, I'd like an answer. Did anybody listen to any of the audios of the Health Commission meetings? No answer.
Not required to answer you.
You're not required to. Nice. You disappoint me, Horker. You'd really do that. This is getting more lily white, and there seems to be very little tolerance for people who might have, and I don't know, I wasn't there. But what I'd be satisfied with as a taxpayer and as someone who cares about my community is if I had heard you guys all say, oh yeah, we listened to 3 meetings, she was really out of line. I'd be done here. I'd be done, because then I would have felt that you did your due diligence. You are not responsible for the people on your street. You are responsible for the entire community. I don't know if we need to switch to an aldermanic, government form where people represent the people in their own, little neighborhood. But that bothers me. That bothers me a lot. You're just taking someone's word for it. This could be a personality conflict. This could be somebody with white privilege that doesn't tolerate passionate cultures. You're putting your brows together. You think this is okay just to take someone's word for it? I don't think so.
A lot of questions, Mrs. Wilson.
Another form of social aggression to discourage my advocacy. They've got these training things you can do where you realize your privilege. They've got people that can come in and help you see your blind spots with cultural and race privilege. And you as Horker, as the chairman, you have a duty that whenever anything comes out of your board, it be straightforward and honest. I came forward, but Papantos is saying, oh, there's nothing against any people, group, or race. Well, I'll show you the Cook County docket. It's loaded with Latino names.
Thank you. Good night.
We're getting sued because of this, because of racism.
Ms. Wilson,
Intolerance. It's inappropriate. You're serving the whole community, not just your backyard.
Good night, Ms. Wilson. Anybody else?
That's it.
Thank you. Staff reports. Mr. Janik, you have something about the Dundee Road streetlights.
Yes, thank you very much. Some of you have seen signage up for a construction project on the west side of town. This is finally the phase 2 of the streetlight project for Dundee Road. This is a project that's been in the works for numerous years. Phase 1 has taken place. The next phase is approximately 90 more streetlights. This project is approximately $1.7 million. It was funded partially by the village, 20%, and 80% by Northwest Municipal Conference and STP funds. You'll be seeing them. I got to tell you, I'm not sure where they're going to start. I believe they're going to start from the west and come east, but the project will be ongoing for at least 3 months, probably 4.
Starting at the tracks already.
Tracks?
Thank you, Mr. Janik. Clerk Simpson, consent agenda.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution authorizing change order number 1 and final to reduce the construction contract with Peter Baker and Son Company for the 2017 motor fuel tax MFT street improvement program from $779,720.52 to $718,396.86. 11B, resolution authorizing change order number 1 and final to reduce the construction contract with Peter Baker and Son Company for Phase 2 of the 2017 street improvement program from $570,000 to $503,000.27. 11C, resolution authorizing change order number 1 and final to reduce the construction contract with Peter Baker and Son Company for Phase 3 of the 2017 street improvement program from $550,000 to $456,547.39. 11D, resolution authorizing approval of a one-year contract renewal with Patriot Pavement Maintenance for the 2018 crack sealing program in the amount of $29,999.90. 11E, resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code for Section 18-00086-00-RS. 11F, resolution approving a one-year contract with the YMI Group for HVAC preventative maintenance and repair in FY 2018 in an amount not to exceed $26,850. 11G, resolution authorizing acceptance of the State of Illinois previously bid contract with CDW Government LLC for a one-year renewal for a support maintenance contract for Cisco SmartNet Technical Services in the amount of $30,187.48. 11H, Ordinance amending Chapter 4.32 of the Village of Wheeling's Municipal Code, alcoholic liquor dealers, specifically Section 4.32.085, to increase the authorized number of Class BV liquor license.
Any questions from the board? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second, Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Lang. Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Clerk Simpson, new business.
13A, resolution accepting a consulting service proposal from Haeger Engineering LLC for the 2019 Watermain replacement and roadway resurfacing project in an amount not to exceed $75,000.
Mr. Janik.
Thank you. Public Works recommends approval of the attached contract from Haeger Engineering. This is a $75,000 service contract for water main installation in 2019. Haeger will be doing the survey, the design, permitting, preparation of construction documents, and generally speaking, all of the consultant work that needs to be done for the water main. The amount of water main is approximately 4,800 linear feet. It's going to take place on Foster, Pewaukee, and Century Drives.
Any questions from the board? If there are no questions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Papantos.
Second.
Second, Trustee Vogel. Roll call.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item B.
13B, I'm sorry. Resolution authorizing approval of an additional consultant cost in the amount not to exceed $25,000 to the contract with Manhard Consulting for engineering services concerning the Diversionary Channel Bridge.
Mr. Janik.
Thank you. I'm here to request an additional amount of money, $25,000 for the consultant services contract with Manhard Engineering. As you know, we've been studying and designing as well as preparing documentation for a bridge that's going to extend, or that possibly will extend, from Wolf Court west to a vacant 17-acre parcel across the diversionary channel. Documents have been completed. We are in for permit right now with various agencies. Looking at the engineering, we found that it's possible to locate sanitary sewer piping and under the bridge. This is we need extra money for the design of the pipe. There's also some additional sidewalk work that we want to do on Wolf Court, as well as some additional permitting time that the engineers are going to need to have to get the approvals. The sanitary sewer, I've got an explanation in the memorandum. This will take place of a lift station that would be required on this property if the sanitary sewer cannot be located or is not located under the bridge. That's a huge cost in the future, potentially paid for at TIF or potentially not. But to avoid that situation, I'm requesting additional money for the design of the sanitary sewer under the bridge.
Thank you, Mr. Janik. Trustee Vogel, you're up. Mary Pep, you're next.
Mark, with this is strictly the engineering work?
That's correct.
What other costs are associated with it down the road if they cannot locate the?
No, you
lost me.
we're very confident that the sanitary sewer can be located under the bridge. That's why I'm asking for the money.
Okay.
At first, the engineers did not believe it was possible. I had them relook at it, and we can do it.
All right, but if you can't, then you go to the lift station?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Papantos, Trustee Lang, you're next.
Thank you. What does this do to the overall timeline?
It really doesn't change the timeline. We're in for permit. Locating utilities under the bridge does not change anything relative to permitting. I mean, it's going to change a little bit of permitting for MWRD, but the big permitting is the bridge itself, the structure itself, spanning the diversionary channel. So I don't see any delay relative to even relative to permitting. The big permitting part is getting the state of Illinois and MWRD to allow us to span over the diversionary channel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Lang?
And quick question for Mr. Janik. At one time, I thought I saw plans that we had for covering more of that diversionary channel right in that area. Has that gone away, or?
It has gone away. We at one time there was you actually did provide some money for a study of extending the a culvert system farther east along the diversionary channel and maybe slightly to the west as well. Doing that, the ability to get that permitted, we don't believe it's possible. So we abandoned that idea. We did look at it, but doing a span has very little impact to any of the wetland or the banks of the diversionary channel. A culvert system would, and plus it's very hard to clean.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second, Trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Krueger? Yes. Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Mr. Spondilis?
Thank you. I'd just like to point out that Director Janik is selling himself short. This is a very creative move from him and our village engineer to save a significant amount of money from having to install a lift station should that sanitary pipe have to be dug under the channel. This is a very big deal, and I don't want that to get lost on the public. I know the explanation was in the memo, but I do want to call out that this was a very creative and thoughtful move on his part to push our consultants to figure out a way to make this happen, which eventually will, if it works as expected, save the project, which ultimately means the village a substantial amount of money through creative engineering. So I'd just like to make sure that that's acknowledged. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spondilis. Clerk Simpson.
13C, ordinance granting a variation for Title 19 zoning to reduce the required parking for a restaurant at 1201B West Dundee Road, docket number 2018-1A.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. This item and the next item are actually related, C and D. The petitioner is proposing a restaurant, the southwest corner, the small shopping center at the southwest corner of Dundee and Schoenbeck. The special use is for a restaurant that would have, let me see, sorry, the 41 seats, 4 employees, and would offer gaming as well. The special use and the related parking variation have gone through the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission has recommended approval. The parking variation is based on the size of the restaurant in terms of the number of seats. The seating is for 41 patrons, which requires 18 parking spaces. Due to the small size of the shopping center and the available parking, there's not enough parking available for all of the code-required parking. Excuse me. So the petitioner is also requesting a variation of seven parking spaces. The petitioner is here. If you have additional questions on either of these two items, both the special use and the variation. There were conditions recommended by the Plan Commission on the special use, not on the parking variation. Those conditions are, number 1, that a bicycle rack shall be installed on the site in a location agreed upon by staff and the owner. And number 2, that the gaming aspect of the special use shall be subject to all village and state licenses.
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. Is the petition, thank you. And I'm just addressing the parking variation right now, item C. You're asking for a 39% variation on parking, a reduction on parking. What happens when your business is a success, which we hope all businesses are? What are you going to do? People are going to leave.
Well, we believe, based on the modeling of the restaurant itself and the type of business we're going to have, that we're not going to have a parking problem. Some of our customers we expect are going to come from the laundromat next door. It's going to be operating in a shared parking type of concept. We had some pictures. Andrew and Amy Chabillo are here, who will be operating the Eagle Gourmet Café. They owned and operated the White Eagle restaurant for many, many years. But we've asked the owner his opinion on parking, and part of our application document or submitted to the Plan Commission was a letter from the owner, and there was also a series of photographs.
Thank you.
With one on either side. We asked them to take some pictures of the parking lot, and based on that, we don't expect to have a parking issue. The size of the restaurant is, shall we say, self-limiting in itself. It's not a place that can be expanded. This is a letter from the landlord that was submitted and was submitted to the Plan Commission. Yes, it was. In the record. My existing tenant in the shopping center is a laundromat that is required to have 26 parking spaces. The 26 spaces are very seldom fully occupied. I believe that the laundromat and the Eagle Gourmet Café will share a number of customers, which will reduce the parking needs for both businesses. So, in our opinion, we don't anticipate a parking problem, and certainly the Chabillos are very experienced in owning and operating restaurants and know that parking is crucial. And they're going in knowing what the parking situation is, and they're comfortable that their business plan will be able to exist in the current situation.
I would argue that the owner of the shopping center has a vested interest in getting somebody in and saying that he doesn't see that it's going to be a parking problem. I'm just concerned that you're going to be successful. I'm sure you will. I would love to be able to go into your establishment to eat, but not if I can't find a place to park. I'm also concerned because of the size of the reduction. A 39% decrease from our code is significant. I don't know when your pictures were taken. If you go by that particular laundromat during the week, you're right, there's not a lot of cars parked there. On the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, it is very crowded, and that's where my concern comes in.
We understand the parking dynamics in the lot, and we know that going in. And to the extent that if the parking lot were full and there's no parking spaces, people will go on to a different facility. They might be disappointed, but it's like going to Starbucks or a store that has a really long backup. You're disappointed, you just keep going. So it has somewhat of a self-limiting situation. Sure. Andrew Shabillo.
If I may just add to that, I'm Andrew Shabillo. Thank you for hearing this case. At the White Eagle, we had parking for 804 cars with a capacity on the building of about 1,800 in addition to a restaurant area for 250. On a Saturday or Sunday, when we had the place jumping and full, in the old days, not in the new days, but in the old days, people who came to the restaurant and couldn't find parking, they didn't come. Obviously, we lost revenue, and there's nothing we could have done about it. It just wasn't convenient. There may have been parking way in the back, but to go to the restaurant, they just went elsewhere. I suspect, as my attorney has mentioned, that will happen here too, possibly. But don't forget, there's still parking required for that third store, and that's not been taken. In fact, neither one of these stores have been occupied for 5 years. The owner, RMS Realty, bought this center in 2018, and there's been no activity in these two spots. And I don't know when the back spot, probably if my business takes off, hopefully, I would take that spot additionally for production purposes. But I firmly believe that...
Excuse me, would you take the spot for additional tables, or would you take it for...
Production.
Okay. Thank
Production. So I understand what you're saying. I've been there, and I can feel what you're saying. But in the end, it all works out. And it'll work out for me if people don't choose to come because it's too crowded. It's okay. They'll come back at a different time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Brady, Trustee Krueger, you're next.
Reading through this, it appears that you sometimes have 3 employees.
Why don't you explain the offer?
Sure. At maximum time. Much of this food is going to be prepared and is served on site. So if you have a manager and you have 2 employees, all they're doing is dispensing food, much the same way they do at Panera Bread. They don't actually cook at Panera Bread,
Right.
but they present the food. And so with that in mind, that is how we see this operation. It's not going to be table service, of course. You'll make the order and the food will be brought to you. Again, I'm using Panera Bread. I hope they don't.
So out of the 11 spaces you have left, they'll be taking 3 of them.
I'm sorry, I didn't
when they're
catch
working.
that.
When these 3 employees are working, they'll be parking in their cars in the lot.
That's true, but I think that's all computed into the variation.
It is.
Yeah, I think your department does an excellent job, and they went over the numbers.
According to what we see is you have 11 parking stalls, period. So if you need 3 of them for employees, that leaves 8 for your customers.
Right.
The way the parking formula is set out is how many seats?
Microphone.
Sorry, how many seats and how many employees, and they come up with a maximum number. And the maximum number to accommodate our employees that will be on site working, together with all the seats, is 18. And we have 11 parking spaces to accommodate those instead of the 18.
The problem is there's nothing else around there. And might I ask, Somebody once mentioned to me that there's another rental area available in this little center. Is it only 2 or 3 units that are available for rent?
There's only 2 available for rent. The north space, the larger space, the laundromat, is 1 space, and then there's the 2 smaller spaces that face east. So there's 2 available at the moment, and they've been available for 5 years.
Is that big brick structure directly behind you, what is that?
That's an office building, an accountant's office building.
And they're short parking too, and so's the dentist office and Walgreens across the street. You have no overflow parking in that area.
Well, the patrons won't stop. They'll come back another time. They'll go somewhere else to eat. If we're at a place where the parking lot is full, people aren't going to look around for a space in another parking lot. They'll leave and come back. That's just the nature of, well, certainly how I operate. I won't say how everybody operates. Most people, if it's full, they'll move on.
To be quite honest with you, we have a few other similar situations with restaurants that have gambling. They have sandwiches, they have microwave sandwiches. And to be quite honest with you, as I go by these places, you never see anybody in them. There's nobody ever in there eating. But yet, you look up on the state's totals, and these 3 places, or 4 places, are one of the top providers of revenue for gambling. So nobody's going there to eat. All they're doing is going there to gamble.
Yeah.
You first, you second. You know, when we were selling the White Eagle, I was there for 43 years, by the way, and cut my teeth in the business as a kid cleaning tables. But nonetheless, the economy changed. We couldn't make it. The building was too big. And so we were selling. And so we had to do our due diligence and say, you know, what are you buying besides the 6 acres of land? And so we did an accounting, a performance accounting. And we had a little deli gift shop in that facility. And when we looked at it, the mushroom barley soup, which was the thing that people came from miles around, I don't get it. I think the soup is great, but we were selling $250,000 of soup a year, just on the soup. Now, if you embellish that with the other foodstuffs, you shouldn't look at this as a cafe. You should really consider this to be a very profitable and good restaurant. If I sell, I did the math and it escapes me right now, if I sell 60 gallons of soup a week, I'm doing $100,000 a month. And so with that in mind, and yes, there will be a sandwich, there'll be a hot sandwich, there will be dumplings, and all of that is done very easily, and I expect to bring more revenue than a lot of those others. The games are ancillary to the business. The games are, if you will, something that I rely upon without saying it's insurance. The highest failure rate of any business is in the restaurant business. I think you all know that. And even though I have a lot of experience, I don't always get it right. None of us do. And I was hoping that that would be the insurance policy that would actually, over the first year, put me over the hump so that I can go on and do other things. If this is successful, it will be a great, I think, a great revenue generator for the village of Wheeling, not only in the food and the beverage, but also in the gaming.
Actually, to be honest with you, the gaming is primary, because if your restaurant was primary, you'd be looking for a lot more accessible site, a lot more where people could come in and sit down and park and not have to fight to get in. You know, let's face it, all these places that are coming in with the machines, they give 2 hoots about food. They're not there because the law says they got to have it.
Well, if I can answer that. Trustee Brady, sure, if I had a lot of money to invest, I would just roll the dice and and put in a lot of different seats and go after it. But that's really not the case, and I'm just being upfront with you. So, but that doesn't negate the fact that the experience that I have and the knowledge that this product will generate is going to be substantial. So if you think it's a cafe for gaming, that's one way that you may look at it. But I'm telling you, from my perspective, it's not that at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. Trustee Kruger, Trustee Vogel, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Sbillo, I just want to be clear. You just gave in earlier testimony that you have aspirations to take 1201C in the future for...
It's possible.
Right. So in the event that the property owner has a tenant who wants 1201C, where are his, depending on what the use is, where are his patrons going to park?
Well, I don't know your zoning ordinance that well, but it would seem to me that if he puts in a State Farm insurance with 3 employees, I don't think that it would go before your zoning board without any difficulty. But if he were to put in something perhaps that requires more parking, there may be justification for you not to give approval or an occupancy permit for that 1201C.
Right.
But again, that's down the road. Right now, it's vacant. C is vacant. It's been vacant for 5 years, generating no revenue. I'm involved, and I'm hoping that everything is going to work out. And like I said, and I gave the example of the White Eagle, when I had the place hopping and the restaurant lay dead because nobody wanted the Parkway in the back, we accepted that. But the very next day, on a Sunday, it all came back. So.
As much as I like to think about the future of businesses that come before us and want them all to be successful, I'm a little concerned about limiting the success of who might be the tenant in 1201C.
The parking variation we're asking for is a parking variation for our tenant space. It's not a variation for the whole site, if you will. There are still the parking spaces allocated to the space C will still be vacant, if you will, and available. We're not varying and taking away those spaces from them.
Good point. Andrew, could you confirm how many spaces are on the site? How many are allocated to the laundromat?
So there are 41 total. There are 37 in the outdoor, in the surface lot, and there are 4 garage spaces. The laundromat requires 26 parking spaces. It does not have a variation. That's the standard requirement for that space based on the size of it. There are 4 spaces allocated to the C unit. And then there are the spaces that we're discussing tonight with the 18 required with the variation to drop to 11.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Vogel?
I had concerns about parking also, and they've increased with this presentation. You said you're hoping to sell 60,000 gallons of soup a week? What was that number?
I said 60 gallons.
Okay. I heard 60,000. That's like 40 servings per every resident of Wheeling every week. and the others heard 60,000
If it would make them happy, I could do it.
But you're saying that at peak time, you're going to require 3 employees. Well, at peak time, that means you're going to have peak customers also. So that leaves 8 in your peak time for your customers. And I don't feel that's enough. And I don't want to dictate to you how many parking spaces you have, but my concern comes from a safety standpoint. If people are pulling in and out of that parking lot and can't find a parking space and driving in and out of it, eventually it's going to create a safety hazard. Or they're going to go down around the block and park in the street. And I don't want to see that happen either. So, again, I agree with my colleagues that it's a real problem, and I'm not sure how it can be addressed.
Well, I think in practice, on the street, if you will, it gets addressed just by practicality. People will not stay.
Sir,
they're not
I've gone to his restaurant already, okay, the White Eagle, and I parked a half mile away and walked to it. So don't tell me somebody's not going to park half a block away, because they will. if the food is as good as it sounds like it's going to be. And I think if it's anything like his previous establishment, he's going to have great demand there, and they are going to park in the street. So I can't buy that argument.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Vogel. Trustee Lang?
Thank you. We allowed this building to be built with limited parking to begin with. We probably figured that, 5 years is a long time for those two storefronts to be vacant. I always kind of assumed that a restaurant of some type would be in one of those spots, and here it is. There is one planned for that. I think the parking will work itself out. It always has in the past. We've had issues with parking. We have issues with parking in shopping centers, and it does work itself out. Sometimes of the day are very crowded in peak periods. Other times are not. Andrew mentioned that there were 4 garage spaces. So that's guaranteed employee spaces, correct? Yes. How would those be allocated? Or
I have begun discussions with the landlord on that, and he was going to take inventory on what's in there. He is a major office kind of landlord, so he has a lot of different properties, and I think he's using those for storage. But upon my request, legitimate request, I'm sure he can make that available.
I would definitely make it available for employee parking in that garage, and that's going to help you out even further. But yeah, this, I've always pictured some type of small restaurant in this center. It seemed natural for that, and so I think the parking will work itself out. We have another location, or there's another building, C. I hope that there is a good use for that. Hopefully you'll spur that building to be used as well, since the center starts filling up. Or you'll take it yourself, which would be a good thing too. But in any event, I think, yeah, the parking is a problem, but, I go back to the fact that we allowed this to be built years ago, and we knew there would be parking issues, and here they are. So I'm willing to let it ride and see how it all works out. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Any other comments? Trustee Vito?
Just a few. I share Trustee Brady's, I guess, it's not a concern for me, but it's a feeling that this is like the Italian cafe people that were going to open in, I forget the name of the shopping center by Arlington Club, that it's basically, it's a front for a video gaming thing. And I think that's probably the case, but I'll take you at your word. I'm not concerned about that. But I'd like a little bit more just sincerity when these guys come to us, when I feel like I'm being presented something to hide what it really is. It kind of bothers me a little bit. But that being said, I don't have a problem with video gaming cafes. The moratorium that we have or we don't have, I know that it was once said we don't have one, that we just kind of thought we had one for 3. I don't know if that's in or out. I don't think we should have one at all. If these are businesses we want in our town, then people should be able to come and do them. So to that effect, I'll take you at your word, but my gut's telling me that this is a video gaming cafe. The second issue with the parking, that doesn't bother me either. That's going to be your problem. If you got a parking problem, you got a parking problem. That's just kind of how it is. So I have no problem giving you that variance. I go to that Dunkin' Donuts on Wheeling or on 83 and Hintz, just south of Hintz every day. It's in Prospect Heights. It's a nightmare. And I deal with it every day because I want the Dunkin' Donuts. If people want a video game or they want your punch keys or whatever else you're selling, they're going to deal with it. If they don't, they're not going to. And that's your issue as a businessman. And then finally, just a general point for the Plan Commission. I've seen a lot of these where they're putting bike racks in or demanding bike racks in everywhere. I probably bike more than anybody in this room around Wheeling, but it's just I don't see a demand out there. I'm like one of the only guys like on Dundee ever. I don't know why we're forcing all these businesses to have these bike racks if no one is really biking in these businesses. I mean, I do sometimes, and I find a lamp post and just bike it up. So I don't know why we're forcing them to do it. I did it at Fresh Farms the other day because they don't have one over there. But so that's my take on it. You'll have my approval for it. You know, good luck to you. Hope it works out. And if you have a parking problem, I hope you have a parking problem because then it means you're doing well. So thanks.
Thank you, and I do assure you, this is not a front. It really isn't. I'm in the food business. I've been born and raised. My father came back from World War II, and he opened up his first banquet hall, and that was in 1947. 46, he was discharged. And I'm 66 years old. I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it because it's in my blood, first of all, and besides that, my wife just retired, and she needs something to do because my wife is there, and she's the original Energizer bunny. You can't keep her down for anything. And so I thought this would be a good thing for she and I to do. And it will be successful, and it will be successful first and foremost as a restaurant. That's the challenge, and that's what my family has been doing. In fact, I was at Pulaski Day celebration this morning, and some people had heard about it. In fact, one of your residents here is Dan Patlick, the Commissioner for Tax Appeal Board, and I guess he lives right down the street from where, and he said, well, he can't wait, you know, to have it open. And I said, well, I wish you would have come and testified for me, but having said that, I think there's a lot of pent-up demand for this soup and other, you know, the punchkis and the kolachkis and that kind of thing. And it will be a restaurant first and foremost. This is not anything else in my heart other than a restaurant, and I assure you.
Any other trustees, any other comments? Mr. Spondoulis, you have something to add?
Just actually to that last point, I don't advocate on sides here, but just so that the board does know that I had a conversation with the petitioner's attorney and asked that very question. In fact, I let them know that the board may be discussing certain liquor code questions that may impact whether or not the required spaces still come into play. And the answer that I received was this is definitely a restaurant, separate and apart from any potential changes that the board may consider. I just wanted to put that out there, that behind the scenes the question was asked and the petitioner was very clear that their interest here is a restaurant that is supplemented by video gaming and not the other way around.
If there are no other comments or questions,
Motion to approve.
that would be Trustee Lang, second.
Second?
Trustee Kruger. Roll call.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
No.
Trustee Brady?
My wife would never let me
I'm
in the
sorry,
house if
what?
I don't vote yes.
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 Otherwise, you can't go home.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
No.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I am worried about your parking.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
Good luck.
Still got one more.
Thank you.
Don't go away.
Don't
got
go
one
away,
more
you got
yet.
another.
Hang on.
Oh, I know. I'm going to be a very good corporate neighbor. I don't know if you have parades or anything like that, but I'll be involved, okay? I will be there for you. Thank you.
Okay. Did I do 13?
Yes, please.
13D, ordinance granting special use site plan approval for a sit-down restaurant at 1201B West Dundee Road, docket number 2018-1B.
Sorry. Mr. Jennings.
This is the special use for the restaurant, the Eagle Café. Again, the conditions, the Plan Commission recommendation included were, number one, that a bicycle rack shall be installed on the site and location agreed upon by staff and the owner, and number two, that the gaming aspect of the special use shall be subject to all village and state licenses.
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. Okay, now we're on the special use in the restaurant, okay, and two separate issues as far as I'm concerned. First of all, you talked, in your presentation to the Plan Commission, you talked about rethermalizing food. Can you give me a definition of what that is? Is that a fancy name for your microwave or what?
No, I went to chef school years and years ago before all this modern equipment came out. Point in fact, I bring up Panera Bread again because most of that food is prepared in a commissary. And in fact, your Brooke Jones and your sanitation lady, I don't know her name, but she knows of the equipment I'm speaking about. And I have a consultant, and it is about bringing it up to a safe temperature and holding it at a safe temperature so that no one gets sick. I firmly believe that sanitation requirements must be met. I know that from my 43 years. And so rethermalization is taking a cold sealed product, there's a French name for it too, but I don't know it, and taking that cold sealed product and bringing it up to 160 degrees and holding it for a period of 4 hours. After 4 hours, you throw it away.
How do you bring it up?
Well, it's in a bain-marie in my old lexicon, but the simple thing is it's a small, portable, high BTU steam table, but it's small. It's like a food processor, maybe a little bit bigger. It's electric. It doesn't need ductwork, so that's how you bring it up to temperature.
So it's done with a steam table versus a microwave or something like that?
Yes.
Thank you. I didn't know what it was, and it seemed something to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Kruger?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to put it on record that when I saw your testimony at the Plan Commission, I had no doubt this was a restaurant, and that I was hopeful that you would be able to bring something to the west side of town. Certainly something that I'm familiar with from being a child and brought to White Eagle for many weddings and banquets and all kinds of things. So being raised by Polish people, I'm looking forward to some pierogies on this side of town. So that's all. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Trustee Vogel?
What Trustee Vito said before, what would it take to eliminate the need for a bike rack there?
I'll hand it over to Director Jennings, but I think the answer is that it's part of our active transportation plan and a requirement of such.
Well, it is something that is required in the code now. The mechanism for requiring it, though, does vary slightly. So when you have an existing building where there's no new parking being added, it is really at the discretion of the Plan Commission to make the recommendation. Had this been new construction, they would have been required to have the two bike parking stalls, bike rack, that are suggested by the Plan Commission. So when you have a special use, something that changes the demand for parking, it is required. Frequently what you'll see is it'll be employees. Employees will bike to work more so than the public, although we, through our active transportation plan, are trying to encourage residents to bike more. We've seen a lot of these bike racks go to the employees.
I guess the reason I'm asking is because of the major uses of it now. I don't think you see too many people on a bicycle taking their laundry to the laundromat. And if we're going to have a lot of carry-out, which I hope we do, you're not going to carry soup home on a bicycle either. So is there a need for it, and is it going to just clutter up the sidewalk area? And how could we give these guys relief from that and just eliminate it?
Well, the way the condition is worded, I hope would address some of that concern. We would work with them to find a proper location on the site. It's not a huge site, but we would work with them to try to find a location that is not.
I understand the location that could be worked with, but is there really a need is what I'm getting at.
I would recommend it based on the availability of bike parking for employees. You wouldn't, when you have somebody who does tend to bike to work, you don't want them to lock their bike to the tree every day.
Okay. All right. I tried. Thank you.
That was a good try. Any other comments or questions? If not, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Oh, I didn't look. That would be Trustee Kruger, second.
No, Papantos, but I'll second.
Trustee Papantos made the motion. Trustee Kruger seconded.
Okay, wait a second. Okay,
I messed up.
okay. Okay, ready?
Roll call.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes, welcome to the village.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
E,
Yes, ma'am.
ordinance 13E, ordinance amending ordinance number 3880, which granted special use site plan approval for a religious assembly used to allow for building addition at 397 Northgate Parkway, docket number PC 18-2.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The village has been speaking with the Swaminarayan Temple on a proposed addition for a great number of years, and they're here tonight to present to you their petition for an addition. It's actually two additions, an addition and then a future addition. The existing temple building, which you see here, is 10,000 square foot building. They're proposing an addition of about just over 25,000 square feet, and a second future addition of 14,500 square feet. The Plan Commission has recommended approval. There are conditions in the recommendation. Number one, prior to permit issuance, a plat of easement for the loop water main shall be approved by the village and recorded with the county. Number two, the drive aisle along the west boundary of the building is partially on village property. An easement from the village shall be provided prior to permit issuance. Number three, the 14,500 square foot future building addition is subject to site plan and appearance approval by the Plan Commission. Submittal shall include elevation plans and floor plans. With that, the petitioner is here to present and to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from the board?
That's right.
Trustee Kruger.
Thank you. I'll wait till the petitioners get to the microphone. Hi there. I have a question for you about your, I was looking at your first floor, second floor, and basement plans, and I wondered if you had anticipated that all three of those floors in the Phase 1 building would ever be occupied all at one time?
No.
No, so, okay. And then the other question that I had was with regard to ADA or handicap accessibility. I know you have a ramp that's on the front, I guess, of the building, on the, what is that, the south side? Are there any plans or, the findings of fact, Andrew, indicated that that's addressed at permit time. So if they require any more ADA accessibility to either the first phase or the second phase, staff will address that then?
Yes, we would send it through a typical full plan review during the permit phase. And that is one of the items that we would address at that time.
Those are my only two questions. Thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Lang?
Just a comment to make. I appreciate you expanding here. You guys have been great neighbors and great to deal with. And so congratulations on your expansion.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Trustee Vito, Trustee Vogel, you're next.
This is just another front for video gaming. No. Welcome, thank you. I like your expansion. Good luck.
Thank you. Trustee Vogel.
I went through most of this. Is there plans in all of this for new signage?
Yes, the Plan Commission had the final vote on that, but yes, it's included on one of the sheets, I think, in the packet. Okay. So it's there, but it was approved by the Plan Commission at their meeting.
Good. Welcome. Thank you for being a good neighbor also.
Pitt. If there's nothing else, then...
One more.
Oh, sorry, Trustee Brady.
Excuse me. What inevitably is going to be the use of all this space? You're putting this addition on now, and in the very near future, another addition. Is your membership expanding, or are you going to have activities in there?
It's just the activity will be separating. Membership is about the same. And I don't even expect any increase in that.
Okay.
Since there are some other temples also being developed, So we'll be about the same where we are at. And we are just hoping that everything will go smooth without any problem.
Very good. And I have to also echo Ray's comments. You've been a good neighbor since you moved into town. You've been there to help us out when we needed help, and we appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
So now then,
That's it.
thank you. Looking for a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Motion, trustee Vogel, second, trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Thank you. We
Approved,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Good luck.
13F, resolution approving a non-binding term sheet between the Village of Wheeling and Uptown 500 LLC for the redevelopment of the property located at the northwest corner of Dundee and Northgate Parkway, compromising a part of the Town Center 2 TIF District redevelopment project area of the Village of Wheeling, Cook and Lake Counties, Illinois.
Thank you, Clerk Simpson. Mr. Ferrolo.
Thank you, President Horker. As you know, the developer, the Uptown 500 LLC, proposes to construct on the property at the northwest corner of Dundee and Northgate a mixed-use development consisting of a 6-story building containing approximately 321 dwelling units, 10,000 square feet of retail, a 6-story accessory parking structure containing 444 parking spaces, an accessory surface parking lot containing 131 parking spaces, and on-site amenities for residents. Before you tonight is a resolution approving a non-binding term sheet. The term sheet contains the terms of a business deal that would be worked into a redevelopment agreement. These terms, these main business terms, have been negotiated with the developer and staff over the last several months, and I want to hit the highlights of what we would incorporate into a redevelopment agreement if the board approves the term sheet. First, the development would require, once completed, a TIF incentive of $6,500,000. The village's retained TIF consultant has reviewed the developer's pro forma and financials and has concluded that the TIF request is justified based upon a review of the request made and the TIF Act. The $6.5 million of TIF incentive would be paid solely with the increment generated by this development. It would be a pay-as-you-go development, which is your practice. There would be no upfront money. The village would help with construction of roadway and sewer improvements pursuant to this RDA. The village would agree to waive compensatory storage and detention credit fees for up to 2.2 acre feet of detention storage and 2.6 acre feet of comp storage. The note would be paid with the increment, as I stated, and can be prepaid at any time. And finally, the ownership of this development could not be transferred without village approval during the construction of the project and for at least 1 year after issuance of a certificate of occupancy. With that, I can answer any questions. We would hope to bring you a redevelopment agreement after a completion within the next, hopefully, 30 days, I would say.
Trustee Lang, trustee Vogel, you're up next.
I just want to make the comment that I know that a lot of negotiation has gone on between the developer and the village staff for this project, and I really want to thank you both for the due diligence of going through this. It's a big project for us, and glad to see that it's taking the next step forward. So, thank you.
Thank you, trustee Lang. Trustee Vogel?
Just a couple quick questions. Jim,
Yes.
is the dark day provision benchmarks, are those standard in the industry of 40%? That seems low.
Dark day provisions take different forms. Some projects have no dark day provision.
Great.
There is certainly within the range. There is no really standard answer to that.
Yeah, okay. The other thing is that what's the value of the waiver on the compensation, storage fees and detention credit?
Andrew might be able to answer that a little bit better.
The comp storage is valued at $80,000 per acre foot, and the detention is valued at $100,000 per acre foot.
What's the total value for this project off the top of your head? How many acres are there? I mean, how many acres of storage do we have to provide?
I think the general answer to that is we can't give a specific yet. We will do that as part of the RDA.
Well, general, not specific, estimate.
Well, the minimums would be what Director Jennings just said for each of the two categories.
Yeah, per the stormwater credit policy.
So the minimum requirement is
180,000.
But the minimum requirement in acreage feet is 1 unit?
Are you asking 1 to 1, or are you asking 1.5 to 1?
Yeah.
It's 1 to 1 at this point.
Okay.
Is that correct, Director Jennings?
So the project engineer is here. They can help us with the calculations of what they did, but.
Don't be shy. Come on up.
The ratio of compensatory storage that was used to arrive at the total comp storage.
Please come to the microphone.
Number.
Good evening. My name is Suhail Namari. I am not the gentleman who made the calculations, actually.
Okay.
It's Kevin Lewis.
Oh, sorry.
So I received them just like you did. So I can't really speak as to how exactly I arrived at them. But I did talk to him several times, and he insisted that those are the numbers that he used.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's all.
Concern? Jill? Or?
I just wanted, our code is 1 to 1, so the expectation is the answer is 1 to 1.
Yes, and we had recommended beyond, we had recommended actually that the RDA, when they're working on the RDA, that they use a number slightly over the exact calculation that Mr. Lewis had provided, so that there is some room, so they weren't requesting exactly 2.23 or whatever the number was. I think we had recommended they go slightly above it, so that there is some room if they do need to fill more than what's projected.
Okay. Thank you.
If there are no other questions.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos, roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Okay, G.
Item G.
13G, ordinance amending ordinance number 5126, which granted final planned unit development approval for a mixed-use retail and residential development, 501 West Dundee Road, vacant parcel, address to be reassigned to 500 West Dundee, docket number 2018-2.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The proposed PUD amendments relate to the same project, Uptown 500, where you just reviewed the term sheet. The development team is here. I'll read off a list of the requested modifications to the PUD. The final PUD has been approved by the board. The Plan Commission has reviewed the requested modifications and has recommended approval. In summary, the modifications include the following. Sixth story is proposed for the building, which adds an additional 59 units, and a level is added to the parking deck for 49 additional garage parking spaces. They are modifying the courtyard elevations to change the materials used on the courtyard elevation. The amount of retail space within the mixed-use building would be decreased from 12,000 square feet to 10,500 square feet. The changes that they proposed require some updates to the PUD ordinance in terms of the code relief associated with the structure. The building height would be increased to 60 feet, from 60 feet to 68 feet 4 inches, with a total height for the rooftop stair tower of 78 feet. There's also a code relief modification for the density of the project. Maximum density per code is 20 units per acre. The original PUD was 34.5 units per acre. The proposed sixth-floor addition with 59 units will result in a total density of 42 units per acre. The parking variations associated with the PUD are also changed slightly to accommodate the additional 59 units and the resulting parking for those units. The total parking requirement now will be 400, excuse me, the requirement is 619. They're able to provide 476 for the residential space within the garage. That includes guest parking of 32 as opposed to the code requirement of 62. With that, the development team is here to answer questions.
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. Good evening and welcome back. It's been a long time. You've heard me before about parking. I am still concerned about parking. You have how many units now in this new proposal?
321.
And how many guest spots?
There is 32 spaces outside and 444 spaces in the garage.
I'm looking for guests.
The 32 spaces outside are solely for guests, and we've identified the 444 in the garage as resident parking.
And my concern is with that number of units, it doesn't seem like you can have too many people having guests at the same time.
We're actually anticipating with the 444 spaces, it parks at 1.48 spaces per unit. All of the comparable projects like this in the area, in the suburban area, from Wheaton, Downers Grove, Glenview, are all parked considerably less than this building. So we're anticipating that there will be garage spaces available. So we have identified those 32 spaces outside for guests, but we anticipate that there will be available spaces inside.
Would non-renters or the guests then have access to the garage? Would anybody have access to pull into the garage?
There would be access. How we do that right now is still, whether it's a fob, whether it's residents let the guests in, we need to work through that.
I mean, it does seem tight. You can understand my concern.
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
I think you're marketing to millennials, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, people like to party, you know, you're Trustee Vito's age. And
well, there's almost 200 bike parking spaces. But anyways, that aside. But actually, and that's why we did the analysis that was included in the packet to the Plan Commission. I'm not sure if you have it, but like Burlington Station and Downers Grove, which is a project we worked on, is 1.1 stalls per unit. It's about 2 blocks from the Downers Grove train station. The Amley in Evanston is comparable to ours. That's about 4 blocks from the metro station, about 2 blocks from CTA. And Wheaton 121, which is downtown Wheaton, I think it's about 1.5 blocks from the not the College Station train station, but the courthouse station, and that's 1.3. Now we're at 1.48, so we're anticipating that we'll be fine with parking. The other research that we did was at the Reserve of Glenview, which is another project we were involved in. That is parked at 1.39 stalls per unit. However, the garage, according to the leasing agents, is vacant. It's like 1/3 vacant, and their rental right now is almost 90%. So. It's hard to have a crystal ball on this kind of thing, but anticipating that concern, we took a look at all the comparable projects in the area. So we're confident that we should have enough parking.
And then your retail space, what are your expectations as to what would go in there?
Well, again, we'd like to see a restaurant. We've got 10,500 square feet. We didn't want to overpark because of the aesthetics of the front of the building. We're parking that at 9.3 spaces per 1,000 square feet. If the whole area becomes, if the whole 10,000 square feet becomes one user as a restaurant, we would be a little short of parking. I think Ms. Jones put together an analysis. If it were say the best case scenario where it's all one user, we would need 164 spaces. We have 98. Now, The key to that is 10,000 square feet is a lot of space for a restaurant these days, particularly when it's integrated into a residential building. If part of that space is restaurant and the other part of it is, say, a provisions or some type of a general store type of user for the residents, we then we tie right into your ordinance. Now, the other key to this is that if a restaurant does come in, that's a special use, so we have to come back and you'll see us again. And hopefully that'll be soon. Since it is part of the PUD, we would have to come back with the user and the analysis at that point.
I mean, I guess my concern is if you put in a restaurant there, or if a restaurant comes in, and that would be wonderful, you have 32 guest spaces, but you need 60 guest spaces, and they're taking up another of your somewhat inadequate restaurant parking, and then people don't have a place to park.
Well, and this is where design comes in, and what I've done with the design and the site plan is those 32 spaces are both in the courtyard and on the north side along Northgate. So they are very easily signed and separated from the retail area with the anticipation, again, we've all rented and we've all lived in areas where parking is a challenge. So the way the site is designed, the 98 spaces are within eyeshot of the retail component. The residential guest spaces would be signed properly, and we would figure out a way to police it through management.
And I may have misread in the packet, or I didn't see, you originally came to us with 4.5 floors on the garage, or 5.5?
It was 4.5 floors.
4.5?
Yeah.
Now, are you going up to 5.5?
We're going up to 5 floors. The top floor of the parking meets the top floor of the residential building.
Why didn't you choose to go the extra half floor?
Aesthetic. It was solely aesthetics. We're at 78 feet to the top of the stair penthouse. We thought that was a lot to ask.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. No other questions. I would look for a motion. Oh, Trustee Kruger and then Trustee Brady.
Please, thank you, Mr. President. This might be just a curiosity question, but when you guys came, and I think it was for the original concept review, you had these awesome exhibits that showed sun exposure on your pool deck based on either time of day or time of season or something like that. With the addition of a 6th floor?
We ran it again, and the summer months when the pool is open, has sun all day long. Okay. September is when the shadow, the sun gets low in the sky, and it starts to create a shadow.
Fair enough.
The beauty of this design is the size of the courtyard. We haven't changed the site plan at all. We just added the floor.
Got it. Just a comment. Overall, I still really like the project, and I'm okay with the addition of the residential and parking floors. I just hope your interiors are as extraordinary as originally proposed. So,
thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Brady?
Thank you. I like your design and layout. I have a slight question for you. You're using some different material other than face brick as you go along to break up probably the monotony of it. But is it wise to go all the way down to ground level with something that could be somewhat destructible?
Yeah, all of our materials are rated for outdoor use all the way down to the ground level. Some of the details of that there is a small amount of foundation exposed, and then there's a base plate and whether.
But is this a concrete type siding?
Yeah, it's cementitious, so it is. It's like a hardy plank. It's a concrete system. Yes.
Now, the accent brick and some of the other brick, is this regular laid full brick?
Yes.
It is?
Yes, regular sized. It's not oversized. It's a high-end iron spot.
No other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. If there are no other questions now, be looking to our motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, trustee Vogel. Second, trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes. Official communications. Clerk Simpson, you have something for us?
Yes, I'd like to clarify, everybody, and I think we should put it on the website, that the old senior center is now called the George and Angelina Patrick. How do you say that name? You're going to make me struggle with that, aren't you?
Well, I also don't have it in front of me, but, you know.
Show him the last name before.
Wait, this isn't pick on the Greek day. I don't.
Patakrakis?
We'll correct the record to
Yeah,
make
but it's
sure.
Patakrakis?
That's how I would pronounce it, yes.
Okay. That's the name of the new building. The old building it's still the Senior Pavilion Senior Center is the old name of it, and it's located at 199 North 1st Street. And when they mailed this out, they mailed it out probably before they realized that the new owners took it over. There's basically the early voting is between 9 and 5. Please visit our website because every day is different and there's all different times that you can go. So if you look at our website, you can get the information off of there, or you can go to www.cookcountyclerk.com for more information. And another thing is, the Wheeling Garden Club is no longer going to be at the Wheeling Pavilion Center starting at their meeting on March 14th. It will be at the Chamber Park at the church. And that starts at 7 p.m. Do you want this? Okay.
Thank you, Clerk Simpson. Just for purposes of clarification, earlier this evening we relieved a commissioner of their duty. It is not something we take lightly, and it is not something that is just done glibly. There is, in fact, a process for that, for the review. Relative to some misunderstandings that may have taken place, the chairperson was, in fact, female. I am not looking to offend anyone's gender, sexual orientation, race, or anything like that. Neither party were of any discernible race, international origin. It's just the way it worked out. That's all I have. Any other comments?
Here.
Trustee Papantos, and we'll do Trustee Brady next.
Thank you. I know Director Janik had to leave, but I think it's noteworthy that through Public Works oversight, the first 3 items on the consent agenda saved the village $220,000. That's a big deal to be put forward for other projects, and I thank our vendors and Public Works for their excellent work in making sure that that's happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Brady?
Thank you. I also seen that there's quite a bit of money. Now, we keep that money, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's reinvested in other projects.
Does this mean we get any less from motor fuel and all next year?
No.
Oh, good. Well, anyways, is our early voting polling place been established yet for this year?
I'm sorry, what?
Our early voting established, where we're going to be early voting?
At this old senior center building.
We are?
Yes, on 1st Street.
Okay. I didn't think we had access to that anymore.
It's easier access to get to, especially for handicapped people.
Okay, fine, because I seen it, my voter's card. I said, wait a minute, we don't own that anymore.
No, they put down the wrong name on it because it
All
was,
right,
they didn't
fine.
know. But
Okay.
that is the new voting place.
Because I know the last 2 years, we were over at the Korean Cultural Center.
Right, they changed it over to the old senior
Okay.
center on 1st Street.
Thank you, you answered.
Excuse me, Clerk Simpson, I happen to be an election judge there for early voting, and
I'm
it's
sorry.
9 to 5. So you're in good shape. Trustee
Between
Brady,
9
go
and
there.
5, and then it's later and all that, but look on our
Right.
website, they have all the hours on there. And it
Good.
also is on Facebook.
Good to go. Any other comments from the board? Trustee Vogel?
Maybe the chief can help me out on this, but I just realized that the fundraiser for the WCAPPA is coming up before our next board meeting. So on the 18th of this month at Wapagetti's Pizza, they're having a spaghetti dinner from 1 to 5.
It's 1 to 4.
1 to 4. There'll be a 50-50 raffle and other activities there. So hopefully everybody will come out and support, have a good meal, and support the organization, who in turn supports our police department. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Vogel. No one else? No one else? Department heads, going once, going twice.
I have one thing. Just to hopefully fix the confusion that I created, the code remains 1.5 to 1 for compensatory storage. So that's how the calculations were made. I misspoke, and I didn't want that to create any additional concern. So it is 1.5 to 1, and that's how the numbers were run.
My question may have been confusing. I was wondering how many acre feet we committed to that. I realized it was 1 to 1.5, but I mean, was it 1 acre foot is all we're committed to that project?
No, 4.8 actually, 2.2 of.
So the total value is 4.8 times $180,000.
No,
it's
you have to break it up.
Right, it's 2 different categories, and I don't have it open.
I'll get you the numbers.
Okay.
2.2 for detention storage and 2.6 acre feet for compensatory storage.
So 4.8.
So, but one of them, one's worth 80,000 and the other's worth 100, roughly.
115. So the total value is about 475,000.
And those are minimums. So all that will be detailed out in the RDA.
Okay. Thank you.
President Harker? President Harker, one last thing. Your State of the Village speech and State of the City speech is on March 14th, 8 o'clock. You can sign up on the Chamber website.
It's about a week away.
It's about a week away.
Where's it being held?
Where is it being held? Oh, at the Ramada. Yeah, at the Ramada. Sorry.
Who are the guest speakers?
I was feeding it.
What's that?
I thought you would have it.
So please come out, support the Chamber, and listen to what President Harker and Mayor Helmer have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. We have approval of the bills. We would like approval of the bills for February 15th through the 28th of 2018. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, trustee Papantos, second, trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
I made all my pile. Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes, we have no executive session this evening. Everybody be careful going home. It's very slippery out there. I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That was a motion from trustee Krueger, second.
Second.
Staying here till somebody says it. Thank you, trustee Lang. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Good night.